Hello, welcome back. It's Christine, and today we are continuing in our series on expansion. If you didn't listen last week, I encourage you to go back, but we're talking about making room for more of what God has for you, for me this year, this season. And, who doesn't want to grow? Who doesn't want to see increase? But I heard someone say this the other day, and I thought it was so powerful. I'm just going to share it right now. Sometimes we're so fixated on growth, right? But instead of focusing on growth, let's focus on health, because healthy things grow. Let me say that again. Instead of focusing on growth, getting bigger, more, we focus on the health, the internal health, the health of something, because healthy things grow, healthy things flourish, healthy things bear more fruit, sick things die. Last week, I talked about increase, making room for more by eliminating, right? We were talking about expansion through the process of elimination, making room in our minds, making room in our hearts, making room physically in our bodies for greater capacity for this coming season. So we know John 15 tells us, I am the vine, right? My Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, my Father prunes, cuts away. And even the good ones, he trims, he prunes so that it will bear even more fruit, even more good fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. So it's just a great reminder for us as we think about expansion, whether we want to expand and grow in our business, we want to see increase in our relationships, we want to become more relationally wealthy, you want to find increase or favor financially, you want to grow financially, you want to grow in influence, you want to grow in authority, you want to grow in any area, really, you have to ask yourself, is there room in my life for growth? Is there room? Is what I've got really healthy so that it can flourish? Or is it just like I'm constantly grinding and pushing, trying to force growth? Okay. We need to have room to breathe. We need to have oxygen and space in our lives. And today, what I want to talk about specifically is I want to break down four key things, and they come from the verse in Isaiah 54, which is my theme for this entire year. And it is enlarge the place of your tent. Isaiah 54:2, enlarge the place of your tent, right? Stretch out your curtains, stretch out your curtains, lengthen your ropes. Do not hold back. Lengthen your ropes and strengthen your tent pegs. Let's say that again. Enlarge the place of your tent, the place where you hang out, the place that you call home, right? Enlarge the place. Make room. Listen to the next part. Stretch out your curtains. Do not hold back. Don't get comfortable. Lengthen your rope, strengthen your tent peg. So today we're going to be talking a little bit further about enlarging. We've already talked about that. We're going to be talking about stretching specifically, what I believe you're being invited to stretch into, what's required for the next season, what it means to really not hold back, and also to strengthen our stakes. So let's just dive in. I believe that when we think about enlarging the place of our tent, this is about occupation. This is about moving into the spaces and the places that God is calling you to move right now. You may have had a vision for a while. You may have been hesitating on making moves. I believe that we're in a season of movement, no longer sitting still, no longer thinking about moving forward, no longer trying to weigh the pros and cons. Should we go? Should we stay? I believe that a lot of us have been sitting on things inside of our business, inside of our marriages, inside of our lives, where we're like, man, that past season is over. I need to move away from the familiar place. Listen to me, that the future that God is calling you into requires that you get up and you move into the new place. That means you have to leave the old place. You need to leave the familiar place. Sometimes that means a physical environment. Sometimes that means a physical position that you used to hold. Sometimes that means certain relationships, circles that you used to travel in. What is familiar that you always thought, I need this in order to get ahead. I need to be here in order to feel safe. I need to be here in order to have security, comfort, connection, belonging. Be very careful that we don't sit for too long in one place, but we are tuned in and know when it's time to get up, leave the familiar things behind and say yes to something greater that's on the other side of the discomfort. As we think about enlarging the place of our tent, it is moving. It's about occupation. What do I mean by that? Again, I heard someone else the other day say it's not about conquesting and taking over new territory. It's about occupying the spaces that we're being called to go into, to steward. I was on a call the other day with a client, and she had someone on her executive team that said, I don't feel like I belong at the table. I don't feel like I'm valued here. I just don't feel like I belong. Yet by her position, she belongs at the table, right? She has a seat at the table. And I want to say that I believe that there's a lot of times that we are called into rooms, we're called into situations, we're called into positions, we're called into new territories. But the thing that blocks our ability to influence those areas, to impact those areas, is the fact that we don't believe we belong there. Okay. Listen, we make it about us. What does everybody think of me? Do they think I'm capable? Do they think I'm skilled enough? Am I saying the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And our focus is actually on ourselves, but not in a healthy way, not from a place of self-awareness, but a place of insecurity. Instead of going into the places and occupying the seats that we've been called to occupy, the positions that we've been called to occupy, with the authority we've been called to lead from, we go in insecure, questioning, doubting, and looking at everyone else to validate the fact that we should be in that place, that we deserve to sit at the table. And so I believe that right now, as we think about expansion, if this is a year of expansion and really being healthy, we've got to be healthy on the inside and know that when I move, not because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to race against time, I'm forcing my own agendas, but I'm moving as a response to the call, right? God is a God of call and response. He calls you. There's something inside of you that begins to stir. You become unsettled where you're at. You're not okay with the status quo. You're not going to tolerate and keep perpetuating the things that you've been tolerating for a long time. What you used to be able to tolerate, you can't tolerate anymore. What you used to be fulfilled with, you're not fulfilled with anymore. Where you used to be comfortable, it's now starting to feel like a prison. It's time to move. It's time to enlarge. It's time to go. Okay. So I just want to leave that there as you think about enlarging the place of your tent. It's also about preparing for increase, right? As we think about enlarging, this is what God had told me, and I shared this last week, is how are you preparing? Have you been preparing for what I'm about to give you? The truth is, I've been in preparation for years because there's been a series of trials and testing and challenges and things that we've overcome in every area: financial challenges, business challenges, team challenges, marriage challenges, family challenges, like every area. I believe, I know we were tested. We've been tested. And I don't believe the testing ever ends because as we're tested, we're entrusted with more. As we show up faithful, as we show up trustworthy, we're able to handle more. We grow in our trustworthiness. That's what a steward is, right? A steward is entrusted by the owner. A steward gets keys to things, gets the ability to have authority over things from the owner. It's a great privilege, but it comes through testing, right? I got to know that I could trust you. I got to know that you're faithful. I got to know that you're loyal. You're not going to be double-minded, double-sided. Like, I got your heart. So as we think about enlarging, last week, I said, we got to enlarge space in our mind to think differently, right? There's got to be room for fresh thinking, strategic thinking, new belief systems, to have our neural pathways completely rewired. Some old programs like die out. We need to make room in our hearts. We need to become emotionally available. Some of us need to emotionally mature and grow up. I know I've had to grow up emotionally a lot. We all are humans. We've been through traumas. We've been through delays. We've been through seasons of hardship, and that can take a toll on your heart. So we've got to do our own internal work of making sure there's always room in my heart. for the greatness, for the things that God wants to give me, wants to do in me and through me. Because if my heart's hard, my heart's closed, my heart's not available for more love, for more joy, for more connection, I don't trust people, I can't enjoy what I have because I feel like it's a constant grind. There's no room in my heart. And the heart is the place of magnetism. It's what attracts things. And we talked about the body, right? We have to have physical capacity to move, endurance, strength. So I've talked a lot about expansion and enlarging, but what I want to really unpack today is this stretching. Hey, it's Christine. I'm interrupting our program for a minute to ask you a question. Could you use a breakthrough right now? What is the one area of your life that you know that if you had a breakthrough in this one area, if you broke through this wall of resistance, this challenge that you're facing, this mountain, that it would change the game for you in every other area of your life? Listen, if I'm talking to you right now, I want to let you know about a 30-day breakthrough coaching experience that I'm offering up for a limited time. It's where I'm going to work with 3 people very intimately, one-on-one. There's going to be daily touch points, daily action steps, and the opportunity to talk to me directly a couple times a week. And we're going to get to work on that one area of your life that is the domino that's going to knock down every other thing, that is just going to open the door. So here's who it's for. It's for those of you who are ready to roll up your sleeves, get to work. You want to execute at a high level. You want that person in your corner for support to call you out on the blind spots. It's also for those of you who don't want to deal with surface level fixes anymore. You want to get to the root of the problem. We're going to pluck the root out and we are going to clear the path. It might be mental operating systems. It might be spiritual stuff going on. It might be as simple as getting into full decision and getting clear action steps. So if I'm talking to you right now and you are ready for a breakthrough, click on the link below. There's going to be a short application for you to fill out. Once our team receives that, if we think it's a fit, we're going to send you the offer with all the details, the pricing, the investment, and the clear next step. You guys, if the program is full, we'll drop you into the wait list. Again, if it's a fit, we'll let you know when a spot opens up. So if you are ready for a breakthrough in this season of life, click on the link, fill out the application. I'll see you on the other side. Stretch out your curtains. I was praying about this morning and I was just meditating on it in some quiet time. And I just want to share some things that were put on my heart. First of all, what does it mean for you to really be stretched? Not stretched to the place where, okay, I'm going to the edge where I think I'm good here. I can ride this edge. But you know that edge is, okay, now I'm uncomfortable. Now this is not okay as much. And the one thing that really came through this morning was that we must stretch our willingness. Listen to me. We must stretch our willingness. How far are we willing to go? How far are we willing to go? How vulnerable are we willing to be with our stories, with our testimonies, with our thinking? How willing are we to stretch our mind, to think about things in ways that we've never thought them before, to question things that we have always had as such fixed beliefs, like to really say, stretch my thinking, stretch my willingness for how uncomfortable or how far I'm willing to go. Like, we like to talk about this stuff. It sounds really cute on an Instagram post. Life begins at the outside of your comfort zone. In fact, I used to have that on the sign right when you walked into my old studio, my gym in Canada. That was the quote on the wall. Life begins at the end of your comfort zone. And it's true. And it sounds so great when you look at it on a wall, but when you're living it out, it's a whole different ballgame to live in this space. If you're on your own in that space, it's terrifying. But if you walk with the Holy Spirit in that space, it is so gratifying. It's so gratifying. It's so rich. It's the place of mystery. It's the place of wonder. It's the place of awe. It's the place of the supernatural, the miraculous. It's the place of divine alignment, divine appointment, divine favor. How willing are you to ask for more? This is another thing in the stretch. As we go through stretch seasons, I believe we're in a stretch season. So if this message of expansion is resonating with you. And I just want to speak to some of you. Maybe you want to expand your relationships, the depth of your relationships, the depths of your connection. You want to really grow, whether it's your relationships at home, your relationships at work. The thing is, like, we're so conditioned, like, it's not okay. It's not okay to ask for help. It's not okay to ask for what we really need, for what we really desire. We hesitate. Some of us are really good at having big, bold asks. And I would like to think that I'm a woman that's very bold in my ask. I tend to I've believed, and I've been known to be, people have told me, Christine, you have so much confidence. You're so bold, like sometimes even intimidating, right? You can be intimidating at times. And yet I haven't always seen myself that way. And if I'm honest with myself, I've been really challenged in this area, especially lately, when the Holy Spirit has stopped asking me for these little things when there's so much more I have for you. You need to be bolder with your asks. I want you to ask me for greater things, even because it brings him joy to supply our every need. It brings him joy to fulfill our desires, as long as they're in alignment, they're from the right place, they're in the right heart, right? Not just for our own selfish promotion or selfish ambition, but as if he has put the burden of a mission, the burden of an assignment on you. And I mean that in a healthy burden, not the kind that crushes you, but it's something, it's like, it keeps you up at night. You're thinking about it all the time. You're like, I know this is my assignment. This is my mission right now. I have got to fulfill this thing. Then we need to be bold when we come to the table and ask for what we need, knowing that everything we need is already provided. And sometimes we're just one ask away. And as I was thinking about this the other day, where sometimes we get so tripped up, like, man, I just don't have the provision for what I need right now. I don't know where the resources are going to come from. And God took me through this little exercise, and he said, I want you to think back to all the times where you had a leap in your growth, a leap to the next level, where all of a sudden you were in one baseline and then boom, you're at a different baseline. And what happened in every single one of those circumstances, there was something I really wanted to do or didn't even know was on my radar. And God sent a person into my life. Someone came into my life that either opened my eyes to what was possible. And all I had to do was ask for the contact, ask for an introduction, ask what else, ask how is this possible, ask for them to teach me. And all of a sudden, boom, I was launched into a new normal. This became true when I went from renting my commercial space in my bricks and mortar facility up in Canada to being able to buy commercial property. It wasn't even on my radar at the time. Back then, I was just so grateful to be running my own business. Like, I pretty much was in this frame of reference. Like, I'm probably going to be renting forever. I don't really see how I'll be able to buy commercial property and build it out at that level. I just didn't have that frame of reference. I didn't have the contacts. I didn't know. And yet God knew what was next for me. And so that introduction came through a person that said, have you ever thought about this? Let me make an introduction. Are you willing to consider something different? Are you willing to be in conversation with this person? Are you willing to explore what else is possible? And that was one example of a huge leap in our business, but it's happened from me being able to travel around the world unexpectedly, unplanned at the last minute, like on next to no dollars, where somebody offered me a trip literally around the world, gave me access to be able to go to world championships and compete at a time when I did not have the funds to get myself there. When I went and competed at world championships years ago was actually a time when I was going through my divorce. And so at that time, I hardly had money to pay rent. Like, I was not in a position to go flying to Australia or Switzerland or anywhere to compete. But it was on my heart. And I said, Lord, I really, like, if there's a way, if you want me to go, like, I'm going to go, I'll do whatever it takes. Will you just bring the person, bring the way, so that I can be there? And At the time, it felt like a huge, bold ask. I had 3 very young children. I had a lot of responsibility. I didn't have a vehicle at the time. My car had broken down. So I had like barely paying my rent. I had no car. I literally did not have 2 pennies to rub together. And somebody came and said, you know what? I want to fundraise the money for you to be able to go. Their daughter was going. And so ended up putting on this whole fundraising event at their location where we raised more than enough money for our plane tickets, all of our travel, all the accommodations and everything. And I didn't know that what was happening at that time. Once I competed at World Championships, it enlarged me so much. It stretched me so much because now I had a whole new level of confidence. I had a whole new level of ability. I had a whole new level of awareness around what I was capable of, what was possible. The next year I qualified again. And it's just set a new standard. It set a new baseline. And so I'm sharing that because sometimes we're not willing to ask. We're not willing to stretch ourselves out of our comfort zone with an uncomfortable ask, asking God, asking someone in our life. And we got to ask from the right place. You have not because you ask for not, or you have not because you ask from the wrong posture of heart. So we need to be aware of this. We need to stretch the conversations that we're willing to have. Okay, I want to pause here. And I'm reading my notes straight out of my journal. This is directly this morning as I was saying, Lord, talk to me about stretching. This is a season of expansion, of making room, of stretching. He said, you need to be stretching the conversations that you're having at home with your husband and with your children, with your team members. This is not the season to have the same conversations we've been having for the last year, the last 10 years, however long. It is time to change your language. It's time to stretch our language. And some of us are having it's like Groundhog Day every day. We have the same conversations. How are you doing? What did you do today? We have the same dinner table conversations and we wonder, why are we just going around in circles in our relationships? Why are we going around in circles? Why are we not advancing? Why are we not occupying greater territory? Why do we not have greater influence in the marketplace? Why do we not have greater impact in our families and our communities? We're having too many of the same conversations. So right now, I just invite you to ask the Lord, tell me, where do we get to stretch my words, stretch the conversations that we get to have, stretch your language so that it doesn't reek of the things of earth. What do I mean by that? On earth, when we're in the frame of survivalism, right? Surviving, that's what it means. We're on earth. Hello, we're all on earth, of course, but we are first seated in heavenly places. We are first spiritual beings that have a spirit, soul, and body. And so while we are on earth, we know that matter is the most dense, the slowest thing to move. The spirit moves fast. Thought moves fast. Emotions move fast. So in the spirit and the soul realm, things are moving very fast. There is no such thing as linear time. In physical matter, it takes a minute for things to catch up. Where we get tripped up is when we are ruled, listen to me, by what's happening in physical linear time. We get caught up. Now we start talking. Our language becomes all about the problems we have, all about the complaining we get to do, all about the judging we have about why are those people like that? What's happening in the government? Why is Trump doing this? Why are those people doing that? Can you believe what happened? Can you see what's going on in the market? We don't even realize that we are cutting the power supply right off because we are speaking weak language. And so if you are being called right now into a season of expansion, of growth, things focus on health. Don't focus on growth. Is your language healthy? Words carry the power of life or death. Words, every single thing you come out of your mouth. I told my kids the other day, and I told someone else, nothing is neutral. Every single thing that comes out of my mouth, every spoken word is either bringing life to the atmosphere or taking life. It's either a blessing or a curse, right? We need to pay attention to this stuff. Every single thing in my atmosphere is either bringing life to the atmosphere or taking life, siphoning life force. So stretch your language, start stretching your ability to listen to what comes out of your mouth. This is something that my husband and I are constantly inviting ourselves into. And I'm so grateful that I have him as a partner in this, to be like hawks about ruthless, about paying attention about what's coming out of our mouth, what we're speaking over our children, what we're speaking over our finances, what we're speaking over our business, what we speak over our marriage, because every single thing you speak, you're making a verbal agreement with, which means you're making a contract with it, right? It's legal and binding. Certain spirits can't operate in your atmosphere unless they have legal access. That's a whole other conversation. But it's really important that we understand this, because we sit here and we're like, yes, God's doing a great thing in my life. I'm believing in faith. I'm being faithful. But in the meantime, what we do is we keep regurgitating the superficial evidence on the surface. We keep repeating our circumstances out loud. This is what's happening. This is what the doctors say. This is what my bank account says. This is what my husband said. Then my kids did this. And we're just feeding that. It's like boulders, right? They're like rocks in the river. You just keep being the obstacle in the way. And we're praying for God to do miracles. We're praying for God to remove obstacles. And he's like, your mouth is the obstacle to the flow. Your mouth is the obstacle to the great marriage you want. Your mouth is the obstacle to the provision you're waiting for. Your inability to stretch your language, to stretch your awareness of what's coming out of your mouth is the block, is the resistance. You're not fighting a demon. You're fighting yourself. You are the weapon formed against yourself right now. Be careful that you're not the weapon formed against yourself, right? Ooh, sometimes we got to pay attention. So we want to stretch the conversations we're having. We want to stretch, this is important, how much you think you deserve, how much you think you can earn, how much you think you can manage. We have so much limitation around this because of our past. Some of this is generational. Some of it was caught from our parents. Some of it was taught. We're not a people that do that. Those people get this. We get this. Money doesn't grow on trees. Everything has to be hard. Welcome to the school of hard knocks. Like we have these operating systems that are running that make us feel like, you know what? I can only get to a certain place. Like I'm only deserving of so much, especially if you've made mistakes in your past or if you made mistakes in your past, bad decisions, things that you wish you could take back and you're still holding on to regrets. Y'all be careful. Holding on to regrets, unforgiveness towards yourself, resentment towards yourself, anger, self-loathing, shame. These things get in the way of moving, of advancing, of stretching and growing. So we must stretch what we believe we deserve. We don't deserve anything through our own strength. We don't deserve anything, but God is so good and so gracious. We're deserving of all things because he says so, not because we say so, because he is a good father, because he is a gracious king, because he is the one who equips us, because he is the one who empowers us, because he is the one who establishes us. Worthiness doesn't come from head knowledge. It is planted in the heart of us when we come into right relationship with God. All of a sudden we realize that my worth is not grounded in my job title, in how much money's in my bank account, in the skill sets I have. Those are positions. Those are assets. Those are skill sets, but they don't determine worth or value. Value at its core is God-given. And so when we come into partnership and understand this, that I'm valuable because you say I'm a treasure. I'm valuable because you say I'm chosen. I'm valuable because you say there's no one else like me. I'm uniquely made, right? Every single hair on my head, every thought that I think, like how valuable is that? Do you know that about your own children? We like to think that we do. So as I think about this, he's telling me to stretch what I think I deserve, stretch what I think I can earn, stretch what I think I can manage, because it's not about me. It's about what he's able to do in me and through me when I'm surrendered. Y'all listen, when I'm a surrendered vessel, okay? We've got to stretch our faith for increase. This is another thing. We must stretch our faith for increase. Some of us have a little bit of faith when it comes to increase. And I do believe that we're created for increase. I mean, the first mandate was multiply and prosper, have dominion over the earth, subdue it, multiply and prosper. That's increase. That's multiplication. Multiplication is expansion. Dominion is expansion. It's not domination. It's dominion. It's rulership, meaning I am not dominated by fear. I have authority over fear. I am not dominated by lack. I have authority over lack. I am not dominated by insecurity. I have authority because I operate from a place of security. Dominion is an internal posture that we hold when we know that we already have access to all things, that we are tapped into eternal timelines. We're not waiting for someday to experience peace. We recognize peace is available now. I'm not waiting for someday to experience my healing. I realize healing starts within now. It starts with what I believe about myself, with what I believe is possible, with healing my identity, with healing my head, my thoughts, with healing my heart. The body catches up. If y'all are waiting on a physical healing, you have to understand healing starts within. It's an inside out process. The physical is usually the last thing that comes on board. Not always, but sometimes, because we have to get the inside right. Because if we get the healing, or we get that relationship, or we get that thing we want, and we're not right on the inside, our heart's not right, our spirit's not right, our head's not right, we're going to go back and abuse, misuse, or harm the thing that we just got. We won't be able to sustain our healing. This is so important because some people, I met someone recently, been healed multiple times, but ends up back in the place of sickness. And it's like, we're not designed to stay there. We have to sustain the healing by being in right relationship, not in our own strength, but by being connected to the one who is the sustainer. But we need to be on guard about what we're agreeing with our mouth, right? What we're entertaining. So we need to stretch our faith for this season. This is a dangerous, exciting, bold, challenging prayer to pray. Lord, increase my faith, because you know that when you pray that prayer, you're going to be called into places and rooms and situations where faith is the only option, not security. You're not going to be able to see it. And there's a reason why people call it blind faith. It's like, I had a little vision of this morning as we're still in this 21-day fast with our church. And so we've been going every morning just for a time of worship and prayer. And as I was there, I was just bringing some anxieties to the table. Y'all, I'm human. Okay. I have some anxieties. I have some stretches. I have some things that feel heavy. And every day I'm like, God, I need to get that stuff out. I need to lay it on the table. And as I exchanged my fears and I exchanged my anxieties, I just felt this invitation from the Lord saying, just follow me for a minute. Come with me. And as I saw him moving away, I couldn't see anything on the other side. It was just like black, but he was walking forward and everything behind him was illuminated. But in the moment, it was like, where are we going? What are we going to do? What are we going to do when we get there? How long is it going to take? Wait, where? And I just felt for a minute these questions that come up, which are perfectly human. Okay. The disciples asked Jesus this stuff. And yet we're invited sometimes just to follow me, come and see. You'll know when we get there. There's been a couple things this week alone, even and often, that I just felt God telling me to go there, speak to these people. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to say when I get there. I don't even know why I'm going there, to be honest. But it was an act of obedience. It was an act of faith. So as you pray, know this, that as you pray, God, stretch my faith. There's going to be moments, many moments, where faith is going to be the only option. And that's exactly the point. He's stretching our faith. It doesn't always feel good, often can feel terrifying, but it's what we do in the midst of that moment, what we fix our gaze on and how we choose to move. Stretch your beliefs about yourself, stretch your beliefs about me, stretch your faith, and stretch your understanding of my ways. Stretch your understanding. And I also believe that as we're getting invited into this new season of expansion, we can't stay at the surface in our understanding. We have to increase in our level of understanding, of getting into the Word of God, which is living and alive and active and profitable to provide us for every situation, to equip us for every good work. The Word of God is there. It's the tool. It's actually the provision when we learn how to use it properly. But so many of us and I'm going to raise my hand because I get it. Like, I'm just going deeper into study, is that we know a couple verses here and there. We know a couple stories, but we're not growing in our understanding. And I do believe this new season is going to require new understanding. And you don't just get it like bing. Sometimes you'll get a gift of knowledge. You'll get a gift of revelation, but understanding comes from meditation, right? From being in a place, from being in the word, in the presence of God. So I want to just put this back onto you right now as we think about enlarge and stretch out the place of your dwelling. Do not hold back. Where are you holding back? Where are you hesitating? Where have you not been getting uncomfortable? Where have you been holding back instead of asking? Where have you been keeping the conversations the same, the language the same? Where have you been you've been holding back in growing in your understanding, in developing your understanding? I want to say the last two things as I close here. Do not hold back. Ask God, where am I holding myself back? Where am I holding back from you? Where am I holding back from where you want me to go? He'll show you. He'll talk to you. The last things that I want to say here, there's so much more I could say about lengthening your cords. Lengthen your cords. If you think about that, cords are for flexibility, right? As you lengthen the cords, it's like a sailboat. Mark and I also sail. And we know that we have to keep enough slack in the rope, not so much that the boat goes away, but you need to keep enough slack for when the tide moves, goes up and down a little bit, and so that the boat can rock. It can't be too tight. There needs to be some slack in the rope. And so as we think about lengthening our ropes for the tent, as the winds come, there needs to be flexibility. We can't be too rigid, but they need to be rigid enough that they hold it in place. It's the same thing with the boat. As the tides shift, the waters rise, the waters fall, the currents come. I need to have some room, right? Some wiggle room. The ropes can't be so taut that they snap. I can't be so rigid that I snap. I can't be so inflexible that I snap, because I need to know, I need to control, I need to have everything perfectly laid out. Man, this is a time, expansion season is a time to increase in our flexibility, our malleability, our willingness, right? To have a little bit more give, not to have to be right all the time. Maybe be a little bit more humble sometimes. Maybe sit back when we want to speak. Maybe speak when we want to sit back. That's that rope. Just, it's a little bit more give, a little bit less take. So right now, as you think about lengthening my cords, this is both about flexibility as well as structure. Some of us maybe have been a little bit too loosey-goosey, and it's time to tighten up those ropes and strengthen our tent pegs. And that's the stakes that go in the ground. We're talking about character. We need to strengthen the roots. We need to strengthen the foundations. We need to strengthen the stuff that holds us anchored in place. I'm going to use the sailing analogy again. Our anchor needs to be firm. Those anchors on the dock, if we're on the cleats, they need to be firm. Those tent pegs, we've been camping before with some bad storms. Some nights where I thought, oh my gosh, there's going to be a hurricane here and just pick up our tent and take us away. Thank God we have so much stuff in it. And I remember last year, even we were camping out in the national park. This wicked storm came through one night, and I was like, Mark, are we okay? Is the water going to come flooding in? Are the tent pegs, are they rooted? This thing's going to get up and lift. What's going on? And we need to make sure that we're in good soil, that we're secure, that we have solid foundations that we're dug into. And so as we think about strengthening my stakes, this is the time not to be wishy-washy with your identity. This is a time to get super crystal clear and know who you are. This is a time to get super crystal clear and know what you stand for, know what you won't tolerate, know what you won't settle for, know what you won't compromise, know where your identity and your security comes from. Because if your security comes from anything that is like the wind, moving here today, gone tomorrow, like the tides, they rise, they fall, they're coming, the currents are changing, you're going to get tossed about. Your tent won't be able to stay fixed. So guys, this is exactly what we do inside of our coaching containers. I'm going to say this, that we work on identity. We work on reestablishing identity, on getting those foundations in place so that when you're moving and you're building on a solid infrastructure, belief systems, values, standards, like everything that's inside of you, that is the foundation, building in your faith. We help to work on those systems and processes that allow you to be flexible, but create structure and stability. right? We talk about how to advance from a place of authority and stretch out and stretch ourselves and partner with God, how to build greater trust, to walk out the surrender. Like, this is part of the journey that we walk through together. So I just want to encourage you. First of all, I hope that as you're listening to this, you've been encouraged by this word as you look ahead. And also, please share this if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, any other format, like, share this, leave a 5-star review. It honestly, it makes such a huge difference. And if you've been listening for a while, and if you know it's time to do something more and take the next step, like, there are other areas where you can go deeper. You can get my book, Drop the Armor, read the book. There's exercises at the end of every chapter. The link is in the show notes. There's also the opportunity to work with us. We work with leaders. We work in one-on-one as well as group environments. Just take a look below, click on the link. If you want to get plugged in, get on the mailing list, see what's coming up. I want to encourage you to take the next step, to stretch yourself. If you've never invested in yourself, coaching, mentorship, start investing in yourself. If you've never reached out and asked for a mentor or a guide to start to help you, to coach you along the way, do that, whether it's me or someone else. Stop going alone. Somebody that will come alongside you will show you your blind spots. That's what we all need sometimes. We need that person to show us what we can't see, to call us up when we want to just shrivel down, right? To challenge and to come alongside of us. So I hope today was beneficial to you. This is part 2 of expansion in grace, expansion through grace. And I'm going to end where I started. Enlarge the place of your tent. Stretch out your curtains. Do not hold back. Lengthen your ropes and strengthen your tent pegs. We'll see you guys next week.